Good evening, people. It is I, Bo Gundam again, and I'm back in for another video. Today, me and Kaiser and Periodic Pete are going to be discussing about RWBY. You know, this is what we've been waiting for.
Yeah, because we can never escape.
You could say that this is the day that we've been waiting for.
That's what
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, so I recently watched the first couple of seasons of RWBY, and since Kaiser here is a RWBY expert, and me and Pete had like an earlier discussion that was pretty constructive about RWBY, I figured that would get all three of us together and have a discussion about like RWBY. We might also, so for this video, we're primarily going to be talking about seasons 1, 2, 3. However, we will probably be discussing what goes further on, and maybe also discussing a little bit of Celtic Phoenix's series, fixing RWBY.
Yeah, basically, it's this whole video is a shameless plug in disguise, guys. Okay, let's not pretend it's anything.
Yeah, we're gonna be plugging a channel that is significantly bigger than all of us.
Yeah, I'm being sponsored.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm secretly.
Honestly,
oh my God.
I feel bad because I probably should have rewatched his fixing RWBY videos.
It's actually like pretty good. It's actually like pretty good. Like I'm not gonna like suck his dick, but like for the most part, I think it's like pretty good and a lot more interesting than the main series. But we'll get into that later.
Well, there's a lot that's also better than the main series. I feel.
I mean, yeah, that's not a high bar, but that brings us to like what are your thoughts on it so far?
Before we actually, I think before we get to our initial thoughts, let's just talk about what RWBY is about, or like kind of like the origin story of it all. One of you two take it away?
Okay.
RWBY is a story about people who have guns that also turn into not guns, and they have characters that are based off of or that are hinted at, like derivatives of fairy tale characters or mythological characters. Sometimes historical characters, but not usually. And
sometimes ice cream for some reason.
Sometimes ice cream. Sometimes Dr. Seuss concepts, but and sometimes nothing at all. And then there's Loki, and we don't talk about her.
As you can tell, like RWBY's a bit of like when I was like first watching the first couple of seasons of it, I was actually quite amazed by like kind of like it feels like a passion project, and it's like kind of one of the things I kind of appreciate it is it's actually kind of like a bit of a passion project, and on the surface, right, everything like seems okay, but when you start like diving, like kind
when
of
your brain starts working, that's when the problems start.
Yeah, that's when the problems start. So I'm just gonna mention. So for the first like couple of seasons, I was actually quite enjoying it, and I was actually quite disappointed that this is basically like the peak of RWBY, because after that, after season 3, it goes like fucking massively downhill from there. Because I read up ahead, I'm like, yeah, I had a feeling that would happen. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not how I would do it. Because I myself, I'm getting into writing too, and even though I'm not like a great writer, in the back of my mind, after watching RWBY, I'm just like, oh, I would have fixed this, I would have tweaked this. That's not how I would have done it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the best thing about RWBY is how we can learn from a bad example. That's I guess that's the glass half full approach that I'm taking with it. And to be fair, you don't need to read ahead to know how the show turns out so bad. All you need to do is just watch a good old Kaiser Shounen video.
What is that Alan Moore quote? Don't just read good books, read terrible books as well, because that can be even more inspiring than the good books are.
I would say like the first couple of seasons, I'd give like maybe a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 at most. Like it's actually like for what it isn't exactly bad. Like for some amateur like passion project, like it's the world building. Your
score for it is lower than I expected it to be, but that's around where I'm at with the first 3. I'd say more all the way
on the surface it's fine, and like when you go like behind the scenes, like it has a lot of like clunkiness to it, but like you've got a good foundation, like you've got an okay foundation to make better shit. Because like here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with starting simple. Like there's nothing wrong with starting simple and then building upon it later, and I think that's like where RWBY really goes bad. Okay, it has a bit of a rough foundation, but you have like some sort of foundation, and then the rest of it just goes to shit. And we'll go into more details about like why it goes to shit later. But
I think even the first and I mean it does get much worse later on. But even what they started with, despite it was really rough. Even still, like what's the the Fat Man quote, the problem with RWBY Volume 1 is that there isn't a plot.
There is a plot, yeah.
Yeah, because there's no centralized conflict that RWBY Volume 1 is really about. It is just you are jumping in between a bunch of these different subplots and sub-conflicts. And like a lot of it is, it's not a bad thing. It's in service of telling you about these other characters, but I'm sorry. I
would say that like initially isn't a bad thing because it like it kind of introduces you to these characters, and when I was watching like volumes 2 and 3, it's like, oh, okay, some stuff is happening. This is like the warm-up. This is like this is getting you into it.
Like the idea of this should be, because there are other shows that have a relatively similar kind of structure. Thinking back, I'm so glad I rewatched the original Justice League cartoon because it's semi kind of like that. There wasn't a really like overarching plot throughout the show until like the very end of the first season, relatively, with the whole Thanagarian stuff. Otherwise, it's just two-parters of the Justice League doing different things every week, essentially, right? But the point is that the problem is that RWBY's writing is the opposite of smart. Let me just say that. So So what they actually do with the characters, with the time that is allowed to them, is just not very fruitful in any meaningful way.
It does come off as a bit meandering, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Like in a good story, because like you were saying with Justice League Unlimited, and what I really like about them is that they will take a bunch of seemingly disconnected and not related sub-conflicts and take little bits of them together to tie them into a much larger conflict. This is especially like part of the reason why I love the Cadmus arc so much, because
Cadmus
like one of the
fucking peak, dude.
Yeah, like one of the best things about the Cadmus arc is when people begin to start to turn on the Justice League and they begin to realize, oh, these guys are actually kind of scary. And one of the first things was it was again a completely unrelated thing to Cadmus and everything else around it, was an alien invasion of like this nano alien that's like slowly consuming all machines, and I can't remember exactly what's happening. But anyways, the way that the Justice League fixes the issue is that they fire a massive
cannon.
Space laser from
cannon.
From the watchtower in space. And I remember the fucking general guy is like, the fuck? That was what? You just have
you
one of
had
those?
that the whole time? What?
Motherfucker, should I be concerned? And like that, it's one of the first moments where one of the non superpowered, one of the non-metahuman characters is actually like, shit, the Justice League are kind of scary. And it was, and despite of being something that came out like in the mid to early 2000s, it's a lot smarter than what they do with like evil Superman or evil Justice League than they do like these days. Whereas these days it's just, Lois dies and then Superman goes crazy. No, back then it's just, they are doing good things, just being so powerful that they are unintentionally terrifying. And again, in a bunch of like subplots that are completely unrelated, but then they tie them back to a much larger conflict. And that's how you should do it. Sorry, I was interrupting.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what's great about like the satellite cannon thing, right, is that like it's like they could theoretically destroy any capital city on the planet Earth. Or what if someone like, I don't know, takes a satellite cannon and points at the White House or something like that? Like,
Sure.
And that's what I kind of like about the Justice League, right? Like, it's not like an overt threat, but it's like they have a satellite cannon and they could theoretically destroy any city they want at will. And there's not much we can do.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want to. But and the thing is about RWBY and its specific context, because it obviously doesn't have to be as expansive, right? Yeah. The issue with the way that RWBY does things is in regards to the how they set up the core aspects of who the characters are, right? Yeah. So, for example, you have the main character, RWBY herself. One of the first few things we learn about her is that she is inspired by her mom, Summer, to become a huntress, and she loves weapons, and she's, relatively immature compared to the rest of the cast because
she's like a 14,
she's a couple years young.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yeah, she was like 14, 15 during that time, right?
I mean, what teenage girl isn't somewhat immature? I mean, most of them are. I mean, it's
Yeah, exactly, right? Especially these days. So Bio, can you name me one time, like past the first season, where any of those elements of her character really factors into the plot or her development throughout the first 3 seasons, aside from gags.
I can't really think of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's the fucking problem, man.
Isn't it kind of interesting? I think there's also like certain times where it kind of feels like they forget about some of those character traits in later ones. Like, you would think. So think about it like this: her first day at Beacon, she's looking at all these different people, and again, this is in the volume where all the non-main cast are just, you know, black silhouettes, and she's like, "Oh wow, look at all these weapons! Look at all these weapons that we're not going to show on screen, but look at all these weapons."
Yeah.
Then you have all these you have
well, it wasn't in the budget, you see.
Yeah. And then Volume 3 comes along, the tournament arc, where you now have significantly more variety in the designs of the different characters and even some of the background characters.
Pretty fucking cool, man. I'm like, oh, who the fuck is this guy?
And
who's this chick?
She's not making even half as much of a fuss as she was in the first episode of the series. And you would think that would be the perfect place to include that. Like, maybe that's a problem that the rest of her team kind of has, that in the middle of a fight she gets distracted by the weapon design of the person that she's fighting, and everyone else in her team is telling her, "RWBY, get your head in the game and just take her out." And she doesn't want to because she wants to see.
Yeah, say what you want about gags in most anime not being funny, but at least they keep that shit up and make it stay relevant. I'd rather that than do something like this where it just is lost on the cutting room floor, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and actually, I mean, that's actually kind of the point. Like when I'm watching RWBY, it feels like an abridged version of a show. And I understand that they didn't have much of a budget and voice acting, all that shit. I understand that they had limitations or constraints. But
well then the thing is that they should have built the show around those things. I think there's a recent video made by Critter about talking about how the characters don't feel stronger, but the story tells us that they are as the volumes go on. And the biggest issue that, of course, is a reason why that is that she pointed out, and that everybody basically points out, is the production cycle of each volume is a fucking nightmare. You want every year, RWBY, every single fucking year, really, in a small ass company like this, it's terrible.
No,
absolutely terrible. Of course you're gonna have problems.
If anything, I think because were there any other shows that Rooster Teeth was working on before RWBY, but after they had made Red versus Blue? Because I want to say this was the first. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe not animated. I'm not super knee deep in the Rooster Teeth lore, but more than likely in terms of their animated stuff. In terms of their animated stuff, I think this was the only other one at the time. There might have been certain shorts or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and that kind of explains to me. Even I still think that they could have done a little bit better in the animation department, but I also can't really compare. I mean, I can't speak a whole lot as far as
a small company. This isn't too bad as far as animation goes. It's a bit.
No. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine as is for especially the first 3 volumes. For a small team and everything. And you know what? It makes a lot of elements of the previous volumes very charming because there wasn't really much room for them to be better, and they didn't have these high expectations of themselves.
Yeah,
which is why a lot of the things just feel that's why a lot of this just comes off way more fun.
Even though
than it probably does later on.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's kind of it doesn't help that Monty died as well. Rest in peace, Monty.
Yeah,
I definitely think Monty dying is probably... Now, obviously, I still think RWBY would have had problems, obviously, but I think Monty dying didn't help.
I mean, yeah, it more than likely didn't help matters, but in my opinion, I think this show would still have the issues that it does, even if Monty
I do as well.
Yeah.
So, the fundamental building blocks of the show are kind of fucked when you really think about it. For example, let's go on about the Grim itself, and me and Pete, end up having quite an interesting discussion about the Grim.
Yeah.
All right.
This was what. Yeah. So this was always kind of interesting to me, is because it's one of the reasons why a lot of the things in the world of RWBY just feel very backwards in a sense, or just don't feel like they really fit according, like the society doesn't feel like it should be this way based on how the rules of the world work. So you have Grimm, that are these creatures that are incredibly destructive and powerful, or so we're told later. Early volumes,
until they're not.
Kind of, yeah. Until the story tells us that they're important, or they're dangerous, and they're drawn to something as innocuous as negative emotions. And while we're expected to believe that like it should be significant amount of negative emotions, the fact that like you can have something, just to jump ahead to volume 4, you can have something as innocuous as like a starving child, that attracts a Grimm that is so powerful that it's literally like nothing we've ever seen before and wipes out an entire village.
Yeah.
Or you can have something like a tournament where someone gets hurt, a fighting tournament where people get hurt and someone gets hurt. Yeah, and then that can attract an entire army of Grimm that just completely annihilates the entire city. Again, in this kind of universe, every single country, every single society would work tirelessly to make everyone as happy as possible, even if they had to force them to be happy, because being happy and not happy in this world literally means life or death. For a lot of people.
Yeah, and here's exactly. You can't really stop people from being unhappy because it's just basic human nature. I mean, for example, I might be secretly jealous that Kaiser has more YouTube subscribers than me. Now that's like that's an intrusive thought, right? That might be an intrusive thought in the back of my head, but I thought it might be a thing that's happening in the back of my head.
That's a crime. I'll never record with you again, dog. I'm sorry.
and then it gets even worse. Like
it's a simple example, right? But like I mean, people have those kind of intrusive thoughts, and also if you say like watch The Matrix, right, where the machines gave like humanity a paradise, right, and that humanity rebelled against that because it's too perfect or everyone's too happy, it's just like basic human nature. Like negative thoughts and dark thoughts are a part of like basic human nature. Now, whether or not you act on them is a different story. But I can't stop myself being like, damn, I wish I had many subscribers Kaiser does, or hey, I like Pete's car.
I mean that is true, but you would think lore wise that they would like at least, I don't know, try something. And here's the thing. I'm not asking them to go in that like, I don't know, dark of a direction in regards to the construction of the world.
But yeah.
The problem is that the fact that these implications are in the show itself, like this isn't shit that we made up. The show told us this is how things work, and yet they don't really utilize it in any meaningful way. That's a problem.
And it's worse than that too, because a lot of times what societies seem to do is almost counterintuitive to the knowledge of how the Grimm work. Like take volume 3, for example. Like you have a fighting tournament. So this is where people are fighting each other. They can get injured, and they will probably be injured. You have medical staff that are you'll have like on demand, but that will be right there because they're probably expecting someone to get hurt. I mean, hell, in the Team Juniper fight, the 4 versus 4 fight, after Nora knocked everyone out, you could hear one of the commentators being like, "We should probably call someone. They might need some help." Again, like implying that someone got injured during these fights, and so. Then you have,
like, say for example, you're an empathetic person. You might feel bad for someone got hurt. Like, oh damn, negative emotion. Like you can't help it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that like later on, apparently, so many people are like so freaked out by
Penny dying, or Mercury getting his leg broken,
and then a robot of all things,
a robot.
Like, you guys should expect this. You're telling me that you started a fighting tournament with, like, superhumans and you didn't expect any fatalities? And, like, okay, let's suppose for a minute that, you did expect that. why the hell are you broadcasting it? Why the hell?
Yeah, I think we also brought up this point as well. Is like say like, and here's the thing, like Ozpin knows that like Salem and Co are around. Why are you broadcasting what your potential hunters or huntresses' powers are on live television?
Yeah, you're putting it live in 4K, and apparently they've done this for like, I don't know.
You're putting so many lives in danger by doing this.
I mean, that was the same issue I had with like My Hero Academia, right? When they're doing the tournament, I was like, why are you showcasing these people's powers? It's like, what if a villain just decides, oh, okay, this is what his abilities do. Cool, I'll just use that. It's like, oh, maybe this is weakness.
That is one of the only issues I have with the tournament, like the conception of the tournament in My Hero as well. Granted, you might, but at the very least, you can probably argue that like it makes sense there because these are the powers of the characters in their like unrefined state anyway.
Yeah,
right.
That is
like
true,
by the time they get into hero work, like actual hero work, it's going to be very, very different. So it'll be much less negligible. But RWBY does not have that excuse.
Let's talk about semblances. And since we brought up like Mercury, the Sigma male of RWBY, basically. I love Mercury. He's a cool.
Here we go.
So we find out that apparently like your semblances can be stolen, so he doesn't have a semblance, right? And I'm asking myself as like, what's to stop people from like watching this broadcast and be like, oh, that's a really cool semblance power, yoink, that's a cool semblance power, and also.
I think with Mercury, I think it's just an ability that his dad has. I don't know if it's something like anyone.
His dad had the power to steal other semblances. I'm just like, what if someone else has that power? And also, the fact that someone could use their own semblance power on Mercury in the arena and no one was like checking that is a massive plot hole. Is a massive like.
Wait. So Mercury's power is that he can steal other semblances?
No. Mercury said that his dad took his semblance from him.
Oh, I see.
Presumably because that's his dad, how his dad's semblance works.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. It's part of the reason why I don't like. It's another example of how I'm like, you would not do these kinds of things with the rules of the world that you have told me about. You would not have these big public tournament events in a world where X-Men are like everywhere. Again, you have people who create illusions. You have people who are telekinetic. You have people that can do all this crazy kind of stuff. You cannot tell me that out of the millions of people in that stadium, none of them would have any invested interest in rigging the fight or like possibly using their semblance to help out one team in some way or another.
Yeah, what if my ability is to steal other semblances? I'm coming to this tournament to like do some shopping.
That's the other kind of thing. And it actually kind of does.
Semblance that can teleport. That's really useful. Wow, Kaiser's got energy manipulation semblance. Wow, that's really useful. Yoink.
That's the other kind of thing. Actually, it does kind of make me wonder, like, what exactly is there like a way that they quantify like a science to semblance in some way? Because that's the kind of thing.
I mean, they would have to if they're able to like link their aura amounts to a freaking health bars on a screen. You know?
But like the reason why I asked that is because wouldn't they also want to document everyone's semblance? Wouldn't, or at least all the students who go there? Wouldn't they want to make sure that they know even if they're not going to like be broadcasting it to everyone else? But then at that point, then doesn't the fact that that Pyria is keeping her semblance a secret, like, doesn't that kind of like fall apart? I mean, I don't think that really was anything that really
that's definitely not part of the intention, but like is the reason why we're asking so many of these questions is that the show gives attention to those things and says that they are important, but they don't really like pan out again when we think about it.
Like, I can hand wave the whole fighting tournament. Why are you having a tournament with live people there? Because what if they have a semblance and shit like that? Like, that seems to never like
exactly.
No,
you would not have a live audience for this. If anything, this is precisely what I think would be advantageous about having a giant floating aerial battlefield that is far away from everyone else, and the only way to watch the fight is if you're either a teacher or you're spectating from or you're just watching
or you're just like an official from the Four Kingdoms and shit like that.
Yeah, like that to me, because otherwise it does seem a little crazy to me. I don't think it really breaks anything, but it is kind of like crazy to me that you have a giant, I guess so that it can move around to different kinds of places, but if all you really need is just a big battlefield, I don't know why like each school wouldn't just kind of like have their own battlefield for maybe internal tournaments that they just do with like their own school.
Maybe Ozpin was like rigging the budgets, I don't know.
Yeah, hey guys, I got this idea. Let's make a giant floating stadium.
Be laundering money. It's a money laundering scheme.
Ozpin, how much money would that cost? Yeah. Have you checked?
Think of the ratings, guys.
They're good old James Ironwood before he's become Jake Steelbark.
Oh, yeah.
Like puts his hand on his shoulder. He's like, Ozpin, have you looked at the budget? And Oz is just like, budget. We have one of those. Oh no, Ozpin, what have you been doing?
Oh god, no.
We'll save the Jake Steelbark shit for later, because like, oh my
god.
Yeah,
different time. But anyway, what are some other thoughts you had about the first 3 volumes?
I do like the dynamic between like Team RWBY and Junifer. Like even if it's like very simple and basic, I think it's like it's like a basic foundation. The stuff with Blair about the Faunus, I have a lot of questions about like where the Faunus like come from or why they exist.
I mean, do you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure. Go on.
Oh yeah,
Monty wanted cat people in the show, so that's
Oh, that was not what I thought I thought you were gonna go into how there are apparently more gods that were introduced in
fuck! I forgot about. Is that even confirmed? I thought that was just like
I don't know. You guys know what told me.
It was like a story, right?
Yeah. So for context, I don't know if maybe Kaiser should be the one telling this, but because I just heard about this offhand, is that so? Like, correct me if any of this is maybe if I'm misremembering. There was apparently a RWBY tabletop RPG, and the cast of RWBY were playing this RPG, and in the campaign, it introduced more gods than what are talked about in RWBY the series, and some of them are apparently gods that created the Faunus ? I think, and there's just a lot of question of whether or not this is canon to the lore of RWBY, or if this is just a one, because like it's being played by the people who run RWBY, but like, is this so we're still trying to figure that out, I think. Again, though, I've only heard about that secondhand, so correct me if any of that is just completely out of my ass.
That's about as what I heard as well. I never bothered looking into it because every time I look into anything side material related about RWBY, I just want to freaking, every one of those become my 13th reason, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like, I just can't understand this shit. This show may not be good, but it'll be much better to watch without all that shit in your head, dude.
It's crazy. Like a tabletop RPG, if a tabletop RPG kind of sounds like it would be really fun if the world of RWBY kind of just made more sense. That's kind of the biggest problem. Is like, when honestly, you have
that's my biggest issue with RWBY, right? Is that on the surface everything is great, but the more deeper you look into it, like a lot of things don't make fucking sense. I'm like, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll tweak this, I'll fix this, I would do this, like, and here's the thing, I actually like RWBY to a certain extent. Like, I think it's fun. I think it's quite impressive what Monty and the crew managed to cook up. Despite the limited resources they had, it's just they don't. It's just like after like the fucking 5 episodes of season 3, I was like, holy shit, like that was pretty good.
We want to talk about Aura. I guess No, go
oh
ahead.
my god, do we have to talk about Aura?
I'm gonna be here for a long while. Sorry, but you finish what you were gonna say, Kaiser.
Yeah, I was saying that, like, I mean, the biggest issue really is just that none of these people knew how to plan ahead. So
yeah, I can definitely I can definitely see that.
It's a combination of not planning ahead and being overly ambitious too quickly. Like, if the guys just, you know, say, hey, I just want to make this dumb fun action show that do dumb fun action things and not really have to worry about any of that, you know, all the other stuff, like, oh, you know, writing a long running story, then okay, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We would be chilling, you know. And honestly, in my opinion, that's how this story like should be for a little bit longer to give it themselves more time to establish this kind of stuff. But they didn't do that because we want like, you know, a huge overarching story where we get all these sad moments and the characters developing and all that shit. So it's like they want their cake and eat it too, but they don't want to actually earn it.
Yeah, and
they just want it to happen.
I mean, going into like the wider story thing, like going in, I was a little like suspicious of Ozpin because there's like a few scenes where he does things. I'm just like, interesting.
Right.
And what I found out was actually going on, like afterwards, looking at it, it's like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of oh, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ozpin and just questionable like ways that the world is set up, why did they never tell people about the four maidens?
Oh yeah, that was a thing that kind of threw me for a loop, right? So they have like magic powers. Like, what's the difference between that and semblance? Like, what's the like?
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is the very first episode of the first volume kind of like makes, because the way it sets up Dust kind of makes you think, oh, that's the magic system of this. And when you actually see the fight between, so let me actually pull up the video of that episode. Shit. So it's Linda Goodwich is her name, I think, and she's fighting. Yeah, and she's fighting Cinder. And so, like, first thing that happens, I think she, God damn it, so they fire off an explosion, and then Glinda's there. And she shoots all these purple lasers using these weird rune things, and I'm like, that kind of looks a lot like magic right now. Not gonna lie, she summons like. Here's another thing: she summons an ice storm, like complete with like thunder clouds and everything. And I'm like, can't just a one of the maidens do that? Isn't that just what a maiden can do? And I mean, I don't think
in hindsight, it just makes even less sense.
Yeah, it's like early on, they were already doing all the stuff that we see maidens doing now, but like now they expect us to kind of forget about all of that and all this cool stuff that people can just kind of do. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Let's go on to like the RWBY being a member of the Silver Eye tribe or something like that. Like, okay, this is really interesting.
Oh god, dude.
But like,
yeah, the Renegon clan, the not
the Renegon.
They got the Sharingan TM.
Yes,
but like, you would think that like, you know, they'd be keeping track of these genetic powers or some shit like that, or Like, okay, where does the Silver Eye power come from? What's the difference between a maiden and a semblance? Or are maidens just got, like, jacked up semblances? Like, I got all these questions.
That's the thing, too, is that they keep, like, they kept adding on like more magic systems. So like first we started off with Dust, and the fact that like the opening monologue of the entire show kind of starts off with the explanation of what Dust is and how it kind of came to be, kind of makes you think, oh, that's what like the core magic system is going to be. Oh, but then there's also semblances, and that's also that is distinct from Dust, and also more so tied to auras. But now we also have maidens who are actually just like straight up magical people, and they can do all these different elemental swishy swooshy things. Oh, but now there's also these silver-eyed people as well. Really destroy Grimm and everything. Also, there's gods.
Also, there's immortals too.
Just cause.
Yeah. I feel like I'm talking to Jackie Chan's uncle.
The grandpa from Jackie Chan.
And he just keeps telling me more things. One more thing! There is also there's also an afterlife, and it is based off of Alice in Wonderland. One more thing.
Okay, grandfather, let you down.
Kaiser Shounen is going to make a takedown video of Jake Steelbach, and it's going to be bad.
It's just like, can we just take one? Just, if you want to do all these different kinds of things, is there a way that you can like categorize them in some way under one singular magic system?
The thing about Naruto,
like, this is
right, is that like, at least with the power system, right, they had like types of jutsu, they had like the different elements, and there were certain things where like, oh, some of these abilities are genetic, right, like the Sharingan or Rinnegan, but other stuff you have to learn, and it's based on your affinity.
Yeah,
like it's relatively simple.
Yep.
Yeah, with the jutsu in Naruto, you had ninjutsu, which was like the basic kind of like magic part of it. You had genjutsu, that was
optical
illusions, and then you had taijutsu, which was just like your regular physical ability, but like enhancing that. You know, you find ways to categorize all these different kinds of things under one roof.
Nin types, right? You got like the enhancer.
Yes, I was going to bring up Nen next.
Katsu.
Yes,
there's that too.
Exactly.
And like, I think semblances, they don't really have a categorization. It's just like, my semblance power is I can steal other people's semblance powers, or like,
I'm just an X-Men. That's it.
Yeah, I'm just an X-Men.
Like, I
think another big issue is just
no
that,
like rankings or categorization. Like, oh, this is like this particular, because like when it comes to semblance battles, do semblance powers cancel each other out? Or is it like stands from JoJo? Like some are better than others, or some like even JoJo has like categorizations, right? Like, oh, you have a close range stand, so you typically have these parameters.
Yeah, I think again, this is me going back to Career's most recent video where she put the nail on the head there. Without us having a good understanding of like how the power system works, it makes it even harder to tell whether or not the characters are improving. It's just that the characters win or lose just based on what the plot demands, rather than what exactly.
Yeah, like aura increase,
rather than it being like kind of like one thing leading to another naturally.
Yeah, like I don't know.
So
another thing,
situation.
Like does your aura increase, or is it stuck the way it is? Can your powers like evolve, like like a Requiem stand? Like, these are questions.
But like, so you have situations where like, okay, Pyrrha is supposed to be seen as a prodigy because she's won all these tournaments and things like that. And granted, her semblance is OP, so there's that as a factor. But she mainly doesn't use it, right?
Yeah.
But then we have no idea how the other characters stack up, against her, like relative to her, right? Because we don't really see them fight anything that is all that major aside from Grimm. Any one of them could have killed anyway. So it's like, I mean, it makes it less impactful to feel that like, oh, this is somebody special,
Yeah, well, and also on the topic of Grimm and how it relates to the power scaling of these characters, that's kind of, that also, the fact that they dispatch Grimm so easily early on, and then later we expected to believe that they're actually a challenge, it adds to that same problem of
humanity.
We have no idea we have no idea how powerful these characters are, because a lot of the opponents that they go up against happen to be Grimm, and the threat that the Grimm pose are like completely inconsistent, at least in like the first few volumes.
Funny how that
works.
No,
that's the thing. Like you have these gigantic, you have a gigantic scorpion, a two-headed snake, and a Nevermore that all appear in the fucking opening, or what would you call it? Like an intro exam or an entrance exam. Like they all appear in the fucking entrance exam to the academy, meaning that these are the things that they expect, like non-taught, refined huntsmen to be able to kill, and they're like the heavy hit. But then, like in later volumes, they're supposed to be like the heavy hitters. They're supposed to be really big threats, or like big parts of...
Going back to Naruto, right? I mean, the ninjas had like a ranking system.
Hold on, wait. Something else, I guess, while we're talking about the Grimm as well, and just like how confused I am as to whether or not people perceive them as a threat or not. They make fucking board games with Grimm in them.
Yes.
Like, things, or are they not? This is like if you made a game with like ISIS as a faction in it. With, like, all that. This is like if like right after 9/11, somebody released a board game with Al Qaeda as a playable faction in it. Like, what are you afraid of these people?
Yo, freaking Sandhammer 40K.
Yeah, I mean, going back to like Naruto quickly, what I like about it is like, you know, they do have like the ranking system of ninjas, right? And like, here's like, you can be like, okay, this guy's a Jonin, all right, so he's at a certain skill level, right? Like, it kind of gives you an idea of like how powerful, or, you know, where does this person stack, right? Like, the average, like, Jonin is, like, this good. But with, like, Huntsman, we don't have that. Like, are there ranks to Huntsman? Like, oh, yeah, a rank 3 Huntsman should be able to take on, you know, this amount of Grim or these types of Grim, but we never get that with the show. Like,
no, we don't.
Like, you know, they could like, be like, oh, you know, Pyrrha for, like, a junior Huntsman is, like, a rank 2, but, you know, at her full potential, she might be a rank 1, or maybe, like, you know, rank 1 or an S-rated huntress or whatever the fuck, right? But they never do that with
like, the accolades are based off of freaking, you know, tournaments that we, the audience, never really get to see. So it's like, we have no way of knowing, all right, is this really supposed to be all that impressive or not? It just kind of dampens the whole point of the character. Like, you know, and we don't necessarily have to go into, like, that much detail for it to be good. Other shows really don't, but it's a death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing.
Yeah, and
where you have no choice but to be left with this kind of stuff, like rolling around in your head, making you think about it. You shouldn't have to think about it.
No, and I think that's where the suspension of disbelief comes from, and that's like my major gripe of the show. It's because there's like good elements here. Like, a lot of the characters are really fun, like Ozpin, Mercury, Oswald. Like that fucking rant he has on the airship, and then he gets like fucking eaten alive. I was like, wow, that's.
Wait, Oswald? Are you talking about Oobleck?
No, not Oobleck. Fuck, what's that guy? Torchwick, Roman Torchwick. Yeah, that's
Torchwick. Yo, how you get Oswald from?
I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, like Roman Torchwick. Like, he was a really fun fucking character, and then he dies. I'm like, wow, that's fucking cold. But, like, you know, you have some fun and interesting characters. I mean, I mentioned to Pete, like, how, like Mercury's like almost like the Sigma male or fucking RWBY. Like, he could be a villain, could be a bad guy, could be either either, and he's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. But, I think, what was it? So what did you think of, I guess, like, Volume 2 relative to Volume 1?
I definitely thought it was a bit of an improvement. I thought the Blair stuff... No, not Blair. The cat girl's name is Blair. Right, let me check the wiki.
Oh, Blake.
Yeah, Blake. Blake. Okay, I thought the stuff with Blake was kind
That's how memorable these characters are, guys.
Memorable.
Holy shit.
It's so memorable. I liked Yang. I thought she was cool. But when it comes to Blake, okay, I thought the idea was interesting, but it just feels a bit clunky, and let's have conflict.
I mean, I think the whole White Fang subplot is more than likely like one of the worst plot elements of the entire show, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and like, okay, she was
at least given what happens later.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, like, okay, why do we have a former terrorist at our school? Like, yeah, she's obviously, like, redeeming and changing her ways, but that being said, you'd think they'd keep more of an eye on her.
I mean, granted, you know, most of them don't really seem to know about that, but it's like, yeah, you would think that would play into more other factors within the story, but they just kind of don't. I think my issue more with Blake is that her story takes up so much of the early volumes of the show, volumes 1 and 2, to the point where, like, in the finale of the first season is not even Team RWBY fighting together to help her overcome, you know, this challenge, you know, because this is a team show, guys. You know, there's about all these bitches are supposed to be a part of a team, right?
Yeah.
But, like, it ends up not doing that and just has Blake, Sun, and Penny fight the main villains while the other characters are not involved in any meaningful way. It would be like if I decide to make... I think I made this joke in one of my videos. It would be like if I made a show... Oh my god, wait, this is a great example. Remember X-Men 97, right?
Yes.
So it'd be like in X-Men 97 that instead of the X-Men coming together to fight the main bad guy of the season, it's the fucking Avengers for out of nowhere, and no X-Men aren't involved. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's also
What the
my
hell?
other
What the hell are
problem.
you doing?
Yeah, I mean that's also my other problem, right? Is that when it came to like the end of the season, okay, yeah, it's a great spectacle, but it seems like kind of out of character for her to like to fucking jump in, and immediately
Oh
take
yeah,
action.
yeah.
And actually, that's another thing they
Like
should have.
it feels
There's
like there should have been like worked up to way more.
Yeah, and that's also another thing I have an issue with the show as well. Is it feels like just like shit just fucking happens, even if it's like even if the reactions are out of character. Like Blake jumping in, and we've been told that Blake is more of a calm, more collected character. Now you could say that she's a bit emotionally compromised because the White Fang, and you know she is a teenager. You could make that excuse. You know, no one's perfect, right? But like it just seems a bit out of character that she would immediately jump in with no backup. It's like, why would she like record this or something like that, or like like stand like maybe follow them back to Leia? Like it just feels like, oh, let's have stuff happen, so my character's gonna jump into the action and get in danger. Like it just
so we can have the cool fight scene. Which, if that's what you want out of the show, or you want to make it in order to be, that's perfectly fine. But then you can't just shift gears and say that all this shit is supposed to be like meaningful. Like these characters are supposed to go on like super well developed journeys after this point. Like you're just giving people mixed signals.
Yeah.
And which is a shame because the characters are basically the biggest draw of the show, really.
Yeah, and I would say actually I like most of the characters. Like I like RWBY, I like Yang, I like Mercury, I like Osborn. I like Osborn. Like I like these characters. Like I want to like these characters. They don't do fucking much with them. Or just stuff happens just because. I mean, for example, like Roman Torchwick. I mean, his death was kind of like ironic, right? But like, I'd be like, this guy was a fun character. He was fun. Like,
yeah.
I wish he showed up more. I mean,
you know what? I think the tragedy of Roman is realizing that he's only as good as he was because the show didn't have a way of ruining him yet.
Yeah,
this is true.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I liked about like Celtic Phoenix is fixing RWBY, is that he's actually around more and doing shit. I'm just like, wow, actual plot development and character development. It's really cool. But yeah, but before we move on to the next topic, I think RWBY, it's like I can see glimmers of good ideas. It's just they don't have any talented. It's just like I can see the glimmers of good ideas. They don't do much with them, and the things they do looking on ahead. I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
What is happening?
I'm just like, what's happening here? Like, what am I looking at here?
What's happening?
Yeah, a lot of it does feel like it needed a little bit more time to. A lot of it feels like it needed a little bit more time.
More time to cook. Like again, if I had it, I think I said this before in like a different format, but if I had my way, I could just I would just have a hard rule. We make a RWBY, we put out a RWBY season every 2 years, so it gives us a gap year to actually like refine the script, figure out where we want to go with the story and stuff. And hell, if we really want to have RWBY in between all of these years because we don't want people to wait, even though we anime fans will wait for fucking anything. We waited more than 10 fucking years for Kingdom Hearts 3, but let's not talk about
6 years
that.
on a boat.
But like, yeah, exactly. But what was it? But even if that's the case, I would have had it. Fuck RWBY Chibi. Well, let's burn RWBY Chibi and its assets to the ground, and let's instead of doing that and just have the characters interact in a non-canon scenario, why can't we make animatics? Like animatics on YouTube are fucking big. They're insanely fucking big. I mean, especially the fan dub shit. You can get thousands of views just from that. Oh yeah, like
I've watched like fan dubs of fan made comics for like Persona and other stuff, right? And that shit's big.
Exactly.
Another thing they could have done like dry spells is write like I don't know, like short stories or little book things. It's like, hey.
That could also work, but that might be a little bit taxing. I was thinking more of the animatic format, because then every other episode you can still have like the Monty fight scene, like tech demo thing inserted, like every couple of episodes, maybe not just every single one. And that way we can flesh out more things about the story, like I don't know, Ruby's character and how she feels about being a huntsman. Blake, and dealing with Faunus racism, Weiss getting past her issues, etc. Like,
you
could have more time for all of that.
Yeah. Speaking of the Faunus, I was half expecting like Blake to come. Blair. Yeah, Blair's the ice chick, right? Like, I was half expecting.
It's why.
I was half expecting somewhere for the show to come up with a final solution for the Faunus question, but it never happened.
Oh my god!
I'm joking. I was half expecting this. I was half expecting her to red pill me on like the Faunus question. That never happened.
Casual show.
Before we move on to like fixing RWBY, I just want to mention the fight scenes actually pretty good.
Yeah, how you feel about them?
A
lot of them are pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, they're very fun to watch. I like the acrobatics and how they're using every aspect of their weapon to win or do damage or like parry, strike, and all that stuff. Like the combat's very like it flows really well.
I will say I agree with you on the first 2 volumes. I'm not big on a lot of like, and I think a part of that is because of like a lot of the thoughts that I've heard from Fat Man, who has plenty to say just on the first fight scene alone, the choreography there and the animation. But I think another reason why, even rewatching it now, I think it's because World Trigger has kind of spoiled me on.
Yes, like, we have succeeded.
I'm looking at, and again, you have like these team fights in these big areas where like the battlefield is randomized to an extent, and so like there's supposed to be certain like battlefield advantages and stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't help but think to myself, World Trigger did this better, didn't they?
Yes.
You have like all these.
They really did. I mean,
characters. There's actual talk in World Trigger about the strategy, about how they approach fighting each other. And again, another reason when we were talking about magic systems, one that I wanted to bring up was Tryon. Because with Tryon, you can have so many different stuff in it that all like still fits under this one umbrella. It's not like you have 5 different magic systems that are not really related to each other, but are all still kind of like there, and you got to figure them all out. No, it's like they're all. You can have ones where like you have these special weapons that have a bunch of these different kinds of categorizations, but then you also have robotic automatons that are also made of Tryon. But then you also can have things like side effects that are a result of your Tryon levels, and those in a way it does a lot of the stuff that they do with like semblances, aura, dust, and all this.
Yeah, but they actually convey what these things are and are consistent with how they work. And if there's something different, it's not completely out of place given given the scenario.
Yeah, and then black triggers and like all that kind of stuff. All of it falls under Tryon. Every single one of it has something to do with Tryon in some way, and it all kind of like ties together under a single magic system. Whereas here, it's like dust is a magic system, semblance is a magic system, maidens are a magic system. You have like all these different kinds of stuff, and it's like. But anyways, I didn't mean to go off on like bring us back to magic system again, just because we were bringing up World Trigger, and World Trigger definitely does tournament fights and even just team fights in general way better.
So much better.
In RWBY's defense, they also go for very different types of fights. They try to go for like much.
Yeah, it's more so sort of like flourish with the choreography rather than like having planned strategies. But even doing like basic stuff would be better.
Yeah, no, and
just basic positioning stuff, especially during the tournament.
Even then, some of the later episodes of World Trigger get pretty flashy. Like especially in the final fights between what were they? Ninomiya Squad and
Tamakoma. Yeah.
Well, Ninomiya, Tamakoma, and who was the guy with the glasses?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Yuba Squad.
Yeah, Yuba Squad was it. Yeah, like all the stuff that they were doing there. How you had Ninomiya that was setting up traps of all the shooters that were gonna come up as Yuba was chasing after him with guns. Like a lot of that was pretty well animated, even by today's standards. I feel that was all pretty flashy.
Yeah, and have like super flourishy choreography, but like it still asks the audience to think Now you might say, "Oh, but Ruby's going for a different style," and like I'm saying, yeah, it doesn't have to be exactly like that. You know, it would be really good if it was like 1% like that. That would be pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, like
1% would be fine.
I don't see what's Neptune's team called, or I don't know what their team is called, but like in their fight,
Team Sun.
Yeah, in Team Sun, I don't see their opponents looking at the fact that Neptune is freaking out over water and trying to like use that against him and take advantage of that somehow, and maybe instead driving the rest of their opponents over into the watery area, so that way they can fight 4-on-3 and leave Neptune all alone, and either force him to have to fight. Like, it's like that's the kind of strategy that I think that characters would want to be thinking about when they're fighting it, and that's the kind of stuff that you would see in World Trigger. Is you would see characters react in a certain way, you would have other characters from the other teams observing these reactions, and then you would have them kind of act in a way in accordance with that to try to use that to their advantage, and you would have this kind of back and forth in that kind of regard with like a lot of the different kinds of fights. This is especially true even like before the rank wars. You had all the stuff with the invasion arc, especially with like a lot of the black trigger.
Oh yeah, the invasion art was crazy. Like the Rambanane fight, the fight with Visa, like all of those fights are so well done.
It's them trying to figure out, it's them trying to figure out what their opponents can do, and then figuring out how to like work around that. And I mean, that to me is what I think these kinds of fights should be, but they're really not. And a lot of them also just make me question that much more about how the fuck aura works in this show, because it feels very inconsistent. I don't know if we want to talk about aura now. I mean, we kind of already talked about magic systems, but I don't know if we talked about how inconsistent aura is.
I mean, you can if you want. In my opinion, that's just a dead horse.
But I'm just gonna be like,
just to give you like a basic idea, you have like so many instances where aura is set up as being like a force field, and it's supposed to be, and that's what they tell us. It is a force field that can be like whittled down like a health bar, but then you have other instances like as early as Volume 2 where a random mook just like punches Ruby into unconsciousness. Just one shot and she's out. You have other instances where people are kind of concerned that they're going to get stabbed when really they've not even been hit so far, so their aura would most likely protect them, and you don't really see them kind of acting in a way as though they think that they do have aura. I think in that same Team Sun fight, the pirate guy, I can't remember what his name was, Scarlet?
I think it was Scarlet.
Yeah, he gets one of the opponents into like a bind, and then all of her little shuriken knives start falling out of her skirt, and so he has to be like, "Oh, I gotta dodge these. Oh, what's gonna happen?" And then in my mind, I'm thinking, wouldn't your aura like think about it like this: the randos, and at the end of volume, the rando white fang mooks at the end of Volume 1, when they were getting attacked by Penny's swords, they just got knocked around. They were not remotely pierced by her swords, even if they still knocked them around a whole bunch. And like, you're concerned about just a couple of knives maybe doing like 1 or 2 damage to your aura. I don't think that was what they were trying to imply to us, but it's just, there's a lot.
I mean, how else are you supposed to take it though? Like, it's so. It's so amorphous, man. It just doesn't. It doesn't track at all, and it makes the fight so less engaging. And again, you don't necessarily have to do it, but y'all are the motherfuckers that want to rip off anime. This is what makes anime cool.
This is also one of the reasons why I like Tryon so much, and why I love the Tryon magic system.
Speaking of that, right? Another thing I kind of have about RWBY, right, is it kind of rips off anime, but without understanding the fundamental. Like in animation, just like more than just that. Because I mean, there's definitely a lot of like that. Because like I had a discussion with my buddy Naruto about this, because me and him did like a video about like talking about like ecchi anime and stuff like that. And is it all porn, bro? Or can you like talk about more like themes and shit like that? And the thing I kind of mentioned, right, is that anime kind of has this like idealized reality aspect to it. Like even like seinen shows, right? Like it's quite like idealized to a point. Like even like shows that tackle like serious subject matter, there's always like this kind of like idealistic reality. I don't have like this concept like fully like fleshed out yet, but anime kind of has this almost like idealized like reality aspect to it. And I kind of think RWBY just doesn't have like that spark. Like it's copying anime, but it doesn't understand like the fundamentals.
I think the other thing too is that they're using the wrong. They're trying to like do these kinds of things that. All right, so especially with like a lot of the kinds of things that they try to use little reaction motifs and tropes that you would associate with like anime or just otherwise drawn forms of animation. They're trying to do it in a CG environment, and it kind of clashes with one another to an extent. And I think I was struggling to think of like any example
Look,
of
I don't have this
a
concept
CG.
like fully fleshed out. I don't have like a word for it, but that's like the closest approximation I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say
So-
that the closest that a
Right.
CG animated, well, just any kind of CG animation has ever come to replicating a kind of anime-ish style while still being, CG is the recent K-pop Demon Hunters that came out recently.
I hear good things about that one.
I do too. I've watched a little bit of it, but I didn't actually end up finishing it. But like I see a lot of the different kinds of reactions that they have, a lot of the different like facial animations that they have, and it looks like it fits really well with RWBY. Like take for example, I guess the first episode where they go to Beacon and you have RWBY and she's like gushing over all the weapons that are around her, and like her model is replaced by a little 2D, version of her, and she's all chibi and stuff, and she's, oh wow, look at this, and it doesn't feel natural. It feels so like you could tell that her model was replaced. You're not thinking about like, oh, how funny this little gag is. You're thinking, oh, you just like replaced her model with this other thing, and you're thinking that because it's such a drastic change that it is what's the word? Jarring, I guess. A little off-putting.
Yeah,
even.
It's sort of like an uncanny valley situation, kind of, but I think the issue is that a lot of it is stiff, kind of. So anime has a particular thing with its timing because it's fully like anime most of the time. That means it's much easier to sort of have that on the screen without it looking too jarring. But in this case, it doesn't. Now, granted, with that specific moment in Volume 1, it comes off initially, at least, as a lot more charming than it ends up being, much later on because, again, these are just these people trying out and throwing in shit that they like and care about into a show, which is perfectly fine. But like at a certain point,
there's nothing wrong with it. I'm doing shit like that for my own work, so I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah.
But,
but at a certain point, like when are the games gonna stop? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I think something that probably would have helped is if they tried to focus on the kinds of reactions that fit, because when you compare, like, even if we're looking at just Western animations that take inspiration from anime to like any degree, and even
like
then I'm not
so,
like with Teen Titans, you can like you were saying, it fits. A lot of those different kinds of like chibi reactions out of nowhere fits really well because in a drawn style, you can make their movements and their transitions in between those kinds of reactions a lot more fluid, and it makes a lot more sense. Whereas, like when you're doing things in CG,
that would take way more time because it's like 3D assets.
You have a set model that like you're allowed to mess around with, you're allowed to move, but you're a lot more restricted with because you're not drawing it to be however you want it to be. Now there are shows that can do a lot with a CG drawn character and like the kinds of reactions that they can make, even like some of the lesser known ones, like because I don't want to like compare early RWBY with something that is super huge. So I guess for an example of like maybe some more obscure CG cartoons back in the day, like Stormhawks or Dragon Booster, both shows.
Oh my god, I remember that. Or fucking like what was it? What's that one movie? I think Fire Breather.
Yeah, Fire Breathe. I think all those.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Studio as
Is
well.
That the one of the kaiju?
Yeah.
Dragon
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, I think
I've
so. It's like the
that
kid
movie.
who's a dragon.
Yeah, I've seen that. Holy shit, man, that's a fucking throwback. I saw it once on Cartoon.
And like the reactions that these characters make, they're not as like drastic as you can see in like other anime or Teen Titans.
But they're still expressive, clearly.
Yeah, they're very expressive.
Style.
There are a lot of times when, again, even in examples like in, I want to say, the first two examples I mentioned, Stormhawks and Dragon Booster, there are times when like you can have characters who will kind of be like, they will stretch out a little bit, but not to like a huge degree, because again, they're restricted to it, but they're still allowed to be able to express a lot of that kinds of, stuff that I think that the reason why those ones feel a lot less jarring than the kinds of reactions that RWBY characters do is because they try to stick with the kinds of reactions. Get Ed! That's another one.
Yeah.
Get Ed! Oh my god! I forgot that was a thing, dog.
Yeah, you guys reminded me of shit I grew up with when she was a fucking child. I was like, what's another? Oh yeah, Get Ed. Yeah, that's a show.
Yep.
Yeah, like a lot of the reason why their reactions feel like they fit and feel a lot less jarring than in RWBY is because I feel like what the animators for those shows, they understood what they could do and what they could not do, and they took advantage of the kinds of things that they knew that they could do and what they had at their disposal. Whereas with RWBY, they are trying to mimic.
They don't know their own limits. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to mimic the kinds of reactions and the kinds of things that you see in drawn anime, and they're trying to put it into a CG environment, and it doesn't fit. And they do a lot less of it later on, I feel. And I feel like they have learned. I think that they still do it every once in a while, but it's not as bad as it is in the earlier volumes. But yeah, that's one of the few examples.
Bring up Code Lyoko.
Code Lyoko, yeah.
That's to an extent,
it's only limited like specifically to the digital stuff, but like even then, their reactions in that aren't as varied. I feel like the character reactions, since like when they're in the digital world place, I forget what it's called, the supercomputer, wherever, they don't really have a whole lot of times where their reactions really matter as much, because that's usually when the action is kind of already happening. But yeah, I suppose that's an example. I think I would have to maybe like find maybe some instances of where they're really like reacting, since again, half of the show is draw and the other half is CG.
Yeah, I was just using it as examples. Anyway, we've been going on for an hour, and we'll probably like wrap up soon. Move on to the next point. Yeah. So my last point is that like, so looking ahead of the future of like RWBY, I was just like quite disappointed where everything went, because it's just like, I mean, outside of like the Jake Steelbark shit, and I actually watched like the last episode of RWBY where RWBY like finds herself. I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Oh my god, you just skipped that.
I watched I read through the wiki. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Wait, why were you looking at the wiki?
I was also watching a few episodes ahead, like as well. Like, I watched a couple episodes outside of that. Okay. But I'm just like, I did watch the last episode. It's just like RWBY going on like some trying to find herself. I'm like, bitch, you haven't had any character development. Like, I mean, that's the other issue that like I kind of know is that like
that RWBY barely develops or does anything. Yeah, I kind of hinted at that earlier.
Yeah, because, by the way, the third season ended off with a pretty fucking massive cliffhanger. Beacon's dead, Pera's dead, people are scattered and injured, and now you've got a couple of, you got a bit of Team RWBY and Team Juniper, like, going on a journey. I feel like, oh yeah, this is a good set, this is a good, like, I'm like, wow, this could be a really good moment for great character development, and guess what you get? Nothing. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah,
the other, I think what sucks too is that
absolutely fucking nothing.
Volumes 4 and 5 kind of blur together in my mind. I barely remember either of them, and the fact that like that's what is like coming after this is kind of,
which is really disappointing, because like the third season, like even though it's a bit rough, right, it did end on a pretty strong note. Like Yang's got her arm fucking chopped off. Blair's been sent back to home. Blake's gone AWOL. Team Juniper's like fucking broken because of Pera's death. Like,
Cinder has one of the maidens. Yeah, Cinder is now a maiden, whatever that means.
Yeah, Cinder's a maiden,
now
and like
she's got bitches now. Fucking Ozpin's gone missing. Beacon's destroyed. you know, you'd think like, oh my god, this would be a great kickoff point. It's like, all right, cool, we're doing some slice of life now. We're going to get to more serious stuff, and you think it would be great for that, but that never happens. That never arrives. It's a fucking bait and switch. That never happens, and that's what I kind of like about like moving on to like Celtic Phoenix is fixing RWBY. Like, there's actually like interesting stuff going on when they get. I mean, I don't think he fixes season 5 because like, holy fuck, that's.
I mean, it is pretty rough. Like, there are a lot of issues I have with his version of Volume 5, but I don't blame the dude for trying for the most part, because a good chunk of that volume, in my opinion, just needs to be scrapped from the ground up. To be honest,
yeah, I don't think I could fix that. Like, I'm not even that great of a writer, but I'm just like, that.
Like specifically, I think, honest to God, he might have made Raven in Volume 5 worse. Not for nothing with the guy, but it's like, I feel like he made Raven in Volume 5 worse, which is bad enough because it's not entirely his fault, because Raven is almost unfixable in my opinion. She is like the one thing in the entire show. She is the worst character in the whole show, just straight up to me. She is the one character I don't think you can fix unless you change things incredibly fucking drastically.
Yeah, but aside from Volume 5, like, the stuff he does with it is actually a lot more interesting. With Yang and like, what's Roman's sidekick? I forget her name.
Neo.
Yeah, Neo. That's right. I knew it was like in like there's the side plot with them in like Volume 4 where they become friends and shit like that. I'm just like, wow, this is really engaging and cool, right? You can play in themes of like forgiveness and all that shit. And I'm just like fuck, man, why couldn't this be the show? It'd be like 10 times better. I mean, I have my criticism, right, but compared to what we got and what we got, this is like 10 times better. Like, it fixes a lot of the issues I have with it. I mean, the first couple of seasons, they're like, okay, right, but going from that, right, you have some foundation to build up on, and the show does nothing with this. And then here comes like fixing RWBY. I'm like, wow, this is actually good and interesting. I'm actually like interested to see what happens next.
Yeah, like, it's what's the word? This is what happens when you have the room to actually think ahead, and also like when you're much more considerate and aware of the pitfalls of writing a story. So you're less likely to just completely fall into those holes the same way, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
for example,
the problem is with Miles and Carey, the people who mainly write the show, is that those guys are amateurs. They don't know what they are doing is wrong, but they don't really bother looking up what to do to make the show better, really. So they end up pulling the same mistakes over and over and over again, like, in just different ways.
Or maybe getting like official writer to like take a look at this stuff and be like, hey, tweak this, fix that. I mean, I'm not gonna like toot my own horn, right?
I mean, the script doctor would do the show wonders, honestly.
Yeah, script doctor. For example, like when it comes to my own writings, like what I usually do, right, is I do like the first like rough draft, right, of it, and then I go back to it later and tweak some things. Like, oh yeah, maybe have this a character express this emotion, maybe go into detail more about this, right? But typically what my writing progress is I do like my first draft, take a break, move on to something else, and then come back to it later and make some tweaks. I found that like works better for me. Because like because my writing progress is basically like I have like I have a beginning and ending planned. It's just kind of like the middle chunk in I really need to fill out. Like, that's kind of like the rough idea. I plan to I plan to refine this process as I go along, right? But my general thing is it's like, I do the rough draft, then edit it out and clean up a bit, and then like I just keep refining it. Like, that's what I'm doing, because I'm I mean, like, for example, one of the characters I have in my thing, like one of the characters in my little story, like, he hates magic and shit like that. And I just was like, wait a minute, why would he have a magic axe? He fucking hates magic. He thinks it's for faggots or something like that. Oh, well, like, he thinks it's gay. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go back and re-edit that out. I'll edit that part out, because and then I realized like implications of certain things. Because once I got to write out these characters a bit more, I'm just like, actually, yeah, he wouldn't actually do that. Yeah, I'll go back and edit that. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I'm kind of doing, right? I mean, and I'm not here to like suck my own dick off. I'm an amateur writer too, but I'm a
sure.
rank amateur.
But you're also not being paid like, I don't know, not tanking thousands and thousands of dollars in a project that you know you're not able to handle. So
yeah,
like I'm just taking it slow, right? But like but that's kind of like my writing process, right? Like I have the rough, because I have an ending plan for my series and a prequel and a sequel and all that shit, right? I've got like most of the stuff planned out in the abstract. It's just filling into like I've got like A to C plan. I just need to fill in B a bit, and I've got like some vague outlines. But I mean that's what I did. And I think that's what RWBY could have done as well. At least like maybe before they started animating shit, maybe write out the first rough draft first, and just refine it before.
Honestly, this is why the freaking animatic would probably help a whole lot, because you can just. This is why we call like RWBY Beacon Days, right?
Yeah.
You can have like these vignette animatics that you can put out of the characters just doing fun stuff in Beacon and fleshing out either the backstories of the characters or elements of the story that you don't have as much room to flesh out like in the main show. You can do that for almost a whole year with the amount of money that you spend on fucking RWBY Chibi, you fucking dumbasses. And so that way, a lot of the questions in regards to why would the characters do this? Why would the characters do that? Why does the things work this way or that way? All of those answers could be solved if you just did that instead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's basically, I mean, I think the crux of RWBY is basically wasted potential, but like, hey, there's a bunch of more talented YouTubers who can like fix it, like fixing RWBY.
I mean, it's not even just like talented YouTubers. I think that RWBY has a really awesome foundation for like a potential story, which is why so many, it's freaking fanfic fuel. Especially when people aren't randomly shitting on it for some dumbass reason. Like apparently RWBY fans on Tumblr hate it when people make like new animations like AU animations or fixings for the series. Apparently they're just absolutely molding over that, which why the fuck are y'all mad about that, man? It's crazy. I'll send you the tweet about that shit later.
I mean, I'll send you some examples
because I want to be accused of vague.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to be accused of vague posting, because this does apparently, as far as I'm told, this is what happens. And if that is the case, that's fucking that's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, an example of like, we can like, I'll play this after the recording. I'll play this after the recording because I'm like using OBS. I don't want to catch this recording, right? But VPN is on OBS. Fucking stop that. Okay, bad computer. Like I'll show you guys the example of fan comics, but like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, as someone who like browses Tumblr from time to time to see if there's any like interesting blogs, right? Because I've come across a few like interesting Star Wars blogs that I feel like, oh, this is kind of interesting thoughts. Like even if I don't like entirely agree, interesting food for thought. Mm-hmm. But like as someone who also watches YouTube, like I love the fan comic stuff because it gives like, oh, hey, what if characters had this particular conversation, and I'll link a video example when we've done this chat, right? But like fan engagement is great. Like, why are you complaining about that? Like, yeah, you may disagree with how they handle things, but isn't fan engagement good? Like, like, for example, if my crap gets popular, like, I'd be quite honored if people are making fanfics about it, or fan art. It's like, oh...
Yeah, I mean, it's also...
It's fucking free advertisement.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was typing. It's just, I'm going to show you in just a second. I just sent out this tweet. Hold on.
Yeah. I think it's also just a testament...
I'll link this tweet in the show notes. But yeah, I mean that's the crux about RWBY, right? Is that like, yeah, there's a lot of passion here, but there's not much like direction. Like, there's good ideas here. There is good ideas here, and that's what really fucking kills me about the show. Is there's actually good ideas. It's just it needs a script doctor. They need to plan this out more, and just like the basic fundamentals of storycraft aren't here, and that's a real shame because I do like aspects about the show, and I think for what they did, I think for what Rooster Teeth did, this is actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
Also, Kaiser, many shows, I think you misspelled and.
Kaiser Shounen misspelled things,
yeah, it's like, I'm not the kind of guy who usually like rags on the fandom or whatever the fuck, especially not in my videos, because I feel like most of the time it's such a pointless thing to do. in times of
Well, listen,
discussion.
don't antagonize
But
the
like,
one it's near.
yeah, totally right. But it's not even just like, you know, the B lovers or whatever. But it's like there are some people out there, because I know every show has its fans. I know every show has its fans. But it's like, if you think this show is somehow like one of the best ever or something like that, or some misunderstood absolute
What have you
masterpiece,
watched?
I have to wonder, what shows have you watched prior to this?
I genuinely want to know, like, to the kinds of people that think that this is one of the best shows ever, and the fact that you think that there's a possibility it could be the best show ever. Tell me, what have you watched? Because if you have watched other shows, that makes me wonder, what have you taken away from those ones? Like, I cannot imagine someone saying this I cannot imagine someone saying that, like, this show has some of the best fight scenes if they have also seen World Trigger. I cannot imagine someone saying...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that is a little bit more obscure, so I don't blame him for that, but still.
Yeah, also, most anime fans don't watch shows that are older than a couple of years old, so...
I think, yeah.
Alright, anyway,
I don't know.
But yeah, basically, I think we're gonna wrap it up now, because we're kind of, like, losing steam, and, yeah, we're going on for about an hour, and I think we're kind of, like, losing steam. But basically, my closing thoughts are, you know, I don't hate RWBY. I think, like, it's got some cool and interesting ideas. And, you know, some of the fan art's actually pretty good. Oh, Kaiser, remember that fucking discussion about that guy who's like, oh, I can't enjoy the hentai content because I haven't watched the show? Or something like that.
Oh my god. Okay, for context, in my very, very first video on my channel, there, you know, Bio made a comment saying, oh, you know, I never seen RWBY, but like, you know, there's some fan art that's pretty fucking spicy, if you know what I'm saying. And then, you know, the guy, the one hater in my comment section, who I will always love and I will always hold near and dear to my heart, because I barely get any fucking haters, dog. What the fuck, man? Anyway,
listen, as Machiavelli says, you can judge a man by the quality of his enemies.
That is absolutely. You know what? That's fucking real. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that.
I think it's either Machiavelli or like in Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, but they say, like, listen, don't judge a man by his good deeds, judge a man by his enemies.
Yeah.
Like
but yeah, this guy was molding at Bio over it, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
so.
I'm just like, I don't even take it seriously. It's just a fucking funny comment to me. It's like, well,
he's so molding just because you admit that you didn't even watch the show. You're just here because you just on the fan art, dog. He was so mad.
I've seen a bunch of fan art about it. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, at some point, I'll go around watching RWBY. It's like, oh, this art's quite nice, actually. Not the spicy stuff, but like legitimately, like, some of the fan art is actually like very good.
Right.
Yeah, but those are sort of like my closing thoughts. I mean, we're not going to go into the Jake Steelbuck shit because Kaiser's already covered that at length. I'm just going to say, like,
oh my god. I mean, yeah, that's in later volumes.
We're not going to cover it, period.
We're not going to cover it, period. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, if this video does well, we might come back to RWBY again, but listen, I'm not going to watch any more episodes. I'm just going to, I stopped at season 3 because I heard it went downhill from there, and looking ahead, like, yeah, this thing, like, crashed off.
That's fair. That's probably for the best, honestly.
All right,
I mean, yeah, but like, I would still recommend, like, I don't know, at some point going back to it just to understand the full scope, right? Because the last thing far be it, what was it? What's the word? Contrary to popular sentiments, you know, among certain groups of people, I actually, what's the word? I implore people to actually, you know, think for themselves in regards to whatever the fuck it is they watch. I don't want them to just listen to me or whatever and just say, hey, the show sucks, go away, don't watch it, or I will come into your house and piss on your couch, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna do that to you. But like, so I am very much in favor of you, like, going back at some point, maybe not immediately, obviously, because you watched 3 seasons in one sitting. You know, that amount of RWBY isn't healthy for anybody.
No.
But like, if you're gonna hate on it, especially openly, definitely do so properly, you know.
Yeah, like, I might come back to it later and do my own thoughts on it, like make a PowerPoint presentation on my thoughts on RWBY as a whole. But like, I mean, like, just based on what you, CBF, and other people have said about it, like, Like, it sounds fucking rough. Like, I mean, I've watched a few episodes ahead as well. Like, it gets pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, and you also watch that annoying Kaiser Shounen guy. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like he's a buddy.
Dude, isn't that guy a homophobe?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I heard he's a super racist. He watched that show Frenin, and I mean, radical.
Yeah. Oh shit, that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks the demons are well written.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I've even heard he's a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, which doesn't make sense because he's African American, but like, whatever. This is what Frenin does to people, man. It makes them racist. It's such a racist, hate-filled show, man. We should ban it. I'm joking.
I mean, unironically, when like you start equating fictional races to like real races,
yeah,
kinda.
Yeah,
I hate the fucking black people orcs bullshit, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, everybody hates that. Right. That's an oldie but a goodie, you know?
I'm just like...
That's the one thing that brings all the races together.
This is what brings us together.
Yeah.
The hatred of these idiots.
Yep.
But basically just closing thoughts. I think RWBY's a fun show. It just has a lot of problems, and, you know, if you want to sign like some simple popcorn fun, I think it's fun for that, like turn your brain off. But once you start like activating the neuron processes, you're just like, what the fuck am I looking at here?
Well, once the hamster gets on the wheel, that's when everything starts to not make sense.
Yeah. Once your brain turns on, you know, that's probably.
But outside of that, you know, I think it's quite amazing what Rooster Teeth and Monty were able to do to their limited capability, and hopefully, you know, future writers can take this as ideas of like, how not to do things, right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Monty. I hope that maybe if reincarnation is a thing, you get a second chance. Hopefully you can make a better show. Or something great.
Yep.
Because, honestly, I have a feeling, like, when it comes to Monty, he's definitely more of an ideas guy. He's almost like George in a way, like George Lucas. Like, he's definitely got good ideas. He just needs someone to help him.
Rein it in. And Miles and Carrie clearly didn't. So
like they need someone to like rein in some of these ideas. Like they definitely needed someone to like a springboard for ideas, right? Like the implications of certain things. Like I think if Miles had lived and finished RWBY and gone on to do more things, I definitely think he could have been a decent writer or at least a competent one. You know, like he
would have been better, probably. Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of like my ending thoughts. Do you guys have anything else to say before we wrap up?
Well, I guess since this is the first time I'm sort of pointing this out. So not only do I have my YouTube at Kaiser Shounen, which you can totally watch, but due to certain recent YouTube shenanigans, I decided to open up my channel on Odyssey. Hopefully I can, Bio or me can just post a link below or whatever so that y'all can.
I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, and y'all can check me out there just in case anything crazy or weird happens. Thank anyone who's watching so much because we just hit 8K subs. Which is awesome.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get 10K soon.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'll let you go first, Pete.
We'll do. Hopefully that happens before YouTube confuses me for a 12-year-old and makes me unable to make my videos.
I don't know. I see what you look like. You don't look like you're fucking 12. I mean, most people think I'm like a teenager, despite the fact that I'm most of my late 20s, early 30s. But
that is true.
But yeah, and then my name's Periodic Pete. I occasionally upload videos. I just kind of upload them whenever. I would like to get on a better schedule, but unfortunately, just things have gotten in the way, and I've not been able to. But I do regular gaming streams every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tune in if you want to some of that stuff, because I go through games like Kingdom Hearts, and sometimes some other games like Metal Gear or Sonic. Just kind of whatever's there. Occasionally I might do a podcast and we'll talk about